Hey guys, Cam here from Pocket-lint, and in the wake of Huawei's current struggles in the Android market, Samsung's got some space for some fresh competition. And two of 2020's contenders for best Android smartphone are right here. They're the OnePlus 8 Pro and the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. So how do they compare? So from a design standpoint, the differences are surprisingly minimal. Put them side by side and you'll see OnePlus has a slightly longer and narrow looking design, and there are subtle differences in the way the ports and the buttons are arranged around the edges. Plus the camera housing on the back is designed differently, but a lot of the important stuff is the same on both. The two devices are both available with a frosted matte glass finish, which looks super in both the blue of Xiaomi's device and the glacial green OnePlus colour. They feature almost identical curves in the glass towards the edges on both the front and the back, with the metal frames that curve upwards into the corners. Even the front-facing camera on the front is placed in a similarly small hole punch cut out in the top left corner. Both feel practically the same in the hand too, although neither is really small enough to be considered a comfortable one-handed phone. Regardless of which you go for though, from a design perspective, they both feel and look like big, premium, top-of-the-range flagships. It's moving into the differences in the display and the software where you're going to see the biggest differences between these two phones though. The OnePlus phone has a QHD Plus AMOLED panel, whereas Xiaomi's is a Full HD Plus panel. And that means you can see the difference when you look at the fine details and the text on the screen. The OnePlus's screen is just that little bit more crisp. And if you look closely, you can definitely tell which is the sharper display, but at arm's length, both of them look similarly bright and vivid and colourful. Plus, both manufacturers give you calibration options to adjust the colours and the vibrancy. With its 120Hz refresh rate, OnePlus displays smoother animations, but that's a little bit difficult to see, especially when you're comparing it to a 90Hz panel that's on the Xiaomi screen. Stick on a movie in Netflix and you'll see an almost identical experience on both phones. That means they're both great to watch movies and TV shows on. There's a little difference in the processing of colour and dynamic range, but there's really not all that much in it. Now the software approach is very different, if only because on our units we were only given the option for an iPhone-like home screen on the Xiaomi, where all your apps are on display and there's no app drawer, and nowhere in the settings to enable one, at least not on this software build. As for OnePlus, it's more like a clean version of Android with lots of customization options, and that's always something I've personally enjoyed a lot more. On the plus side, for Xiaomi, its own Android skin does include an always-on display that shows a clock and notifications when it's in standby. OnePlus is working on something similar but hasn't released it to the public yet. But overall, we just prefer the way that Oxygen OS works. It's light and snappy and customizable and doesn't come with all the extra bloat and duplicate apps that Xiaomi likes to load its phones with. But from a hardware and performance perspective, there's very little difference in spec and everyday speed and power between the two phones, primarily because they both use the same Snapdragon 865 processor, and both come with either 8 or 12 GB of RAM. Even battery capacity is near identical, with 4500 versus 4510 mAh in the Xiaomi versus the OnePlus. And what that means is you're able to play the most graphically intense games without the phone struggling to load or missing out on any graphic performance. It also means you do generally get the same kind of battery life through the day as well. Both phones during testing tend to be around about 30% mark at the end of the day. With our own typical usage. Yours might differ, obviously. As for charging speeds, there's a little difference here. Both can charge wirelessly with their own proprietary 30-watt fast chargers, but when it comes to wired charging, the Xiaomi is noticeably quicker and can fill up at 50-watt speeds. So if you're in a pinch and need fast charging as fast as possible, the Mi 10 Pro is the best bet. So onto cameras, and at least when it comes to tech specs, there is clearly some difference here. Xiaomi's 108 megapixel primary camera isn't just more pixel dense than the OnePlus's 48 megapixel one, it also has a wider f-stop 1.7 aperture versus the f-stop 1.8 on the OnePlus. As for additional cameras, Xiaomi and OnePlus both have ultra-wide and telephoto cameras, so you get that variation in focal lengths. Except Xiaomi has two telephoto lenses, with one offering 3.7 times optical and 5 times hybrid zoom, with the other going up to 2 times zoom. OnePlus only has the one telephoto lens, and that goes up to 3 times. OnePlus also has that weird colour filter camera, which we still haven't really found a proper real purpose for, beside a few minutes of fun and for it being a gimmick. Both are strong performers in daily use though. We were impressed with the dynamic range on offer from Xiaomi, particularly in the ultra-wide images. It sometimes pushes colours a little bit too far, but the end results for the most part are just really nice to look at. Similarly, OnePlus offers great performance and images that look good, although zoomed in photos were noticeably flatter than the other two cameras. Now if you want good HDR performance and vivid colours, Xiaomi is the one to go for here. But if you want a more natural look and something that looks a little bit more like you're looking at it with your eye, then OnePlus is good for that too. Now on the whole, if we had to pick an all-rounder better phone of these two, we would suggest the OnePlus phone. It's got a better screen and we like the approach to software more. As for the rest, you really don't lose anything by going with a Xiaomi. In fact, if you want a more vibrant and versatile camera system, it is the one to go for. So let us know what you think of these two phones in the comments below. Do you have a preference? Do you actually like the way Xiaomi does software versus the OnePlus version? Let me know. I'm at Cam Bunton on Twitter. You can ask me questions, follow me on there. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to see more of them. I'll see you again in the next one.